Hello, everyone. It's Jeff Miller. I'm using a different name today. I don't know how you got to this video, but some of my guys are used to seeing me all dressed up in martial arts training gear and all that, and teaching on that side of things. Others are used to seeing me more this way, or maybe with a shirt and tie or whatever, on the consulting side for workplace violence, all that kind of stuff. Really doesn't matter. This is one of those kind of a bridge kind of things, and it's something I wanted to get out right away. I'm actually recording this on Monday. Was today, April 4th, Monday, April 4th, 2022. And I'll explain why here in just a minute. But who knows? This could turn into a series. We'll call it Make It Work Mondays or something like that, right? So if you're a big fan and you've been following along on my Warriors Whiteboard Wednesdays, right? This is not Wednesday. It's a Monday, right? Or my Kuden podcast, typically for martial arts and self-defense oriented people. That happens every Monday night. So I've got one tonight. But anyway, so what we're doing is trying to get out as much information to folks as possible, regardless of the realm that they're in, when it comes to using their skills, self-defense skills, workplace violence, protection and prevention tactics, and all those kind of things, right? In a way that, like I just mentioned, that make sure it works, right? Not that we believe it works, not that we think that it works, not that we hope that it'll work, right? But it'll actually work, okay? I'm going to try to keep this one as short as possible. But the reason I decided to jump on today, just completely out of context from what I normally do. And again, for those of you guys used to seeing me dressed up in like martial arts outfits and all that, it's a business day for me. So here I am, right? So my corporate clients and prospects are probably going to be more used to seeing me this way than you guys are. But what this really comes down to, again, is using things and making it real, making it right, making our training right for the street. And when I use the word street, right, I'm going to put that in little air quotes, right, making it right for the street. But that could be in your workplace, it could be in your home, it could be at the mall, whatever, right? Street is the idea of we're not in some sterile training environment like corporate classroom or a conference room or martial arts school, dojo, dojang, whatever term you're used to using. This is not in a safe, sterile place. This is making sure that we can do it where we're going to need to do it. Okay. So anyway, all right. So the reason I decided to jump on today was I was in the middle of my work day, and one of my new guys just came in. His name is Joe. His real name is Joe. I'm not going to toss out his last name yet because I'm not sure how much Joe wants to be recognized for this stuff. And if he does, maybe we'll interview him on like a podcast or something like that. But anyway, Joe, real name. Joe's a single parent, right? And he's only been training with me since, my memory serves me correctly, February 8th of this year. So 2022, February 8th. Today's April 4th. Do the math. Joe's been one of my students for a little less than 2 months. And last night, the reason why Joe came in today was he needed to let me know that he saved a woman's life last night, okay, using the stuff that I'm teaching him. Again, this is not me ringing my bell. This is just what we're looking at in our training, right? And one of the biggest problems in training, right, if we have a big, long, like, timeline kind of thing, right, for most people, right, so start, right, and then street ready, which is what we should be focusing on. For a lot of people, right, they put like black belt there or something like that, right? Or some like certificate of training or whatever because they completed the course. Really? Okay, fantastic, right? When the reality is the only test that's ever going to matter for anybody is, did your stuff work on the street? Okay, not for my corporate guys, not did it pass some kind of best practices template or checklist or something like that, right? So for a lot of folks, though, right, what they're looking at is, they learn some basics here, and then they learn some more complicated techniques here. It just keeps getting, until finally they can do, a string of 42,000 moves from memory and all that kind of stuff, right? And then they've got their stuff, right? But some people equate that, like having a black belt, with being able to protect yourself at a minimum. But we're talking about somebody that's been with me that took the principles and concepts that we teach and was able to apply them under pressure. Oh, did I forget to mention that Joe protected this woman against an enraged boyfriend who was trying to kill her with a knife? Okay. So what we're looking at is being able to apply this stuff very, very quickly, right? So let me get rid of this thing here because I'm going to lay it out a little bit differently. right? So what I wanted to do, I'll tell this story quickly from Joe's perspective. I want to toss kind of a mini framework in place, right? I'm going to summarize an 8-point framework that we give students to make sure that their training is sound and ready for the street, right? We'll take a look at the phases that each of these 8 kind of fit into. They can be looked at from a perspective of like 4, right? But quickly, right, with Joe's story, right? Joe was out, and again, he's a single dad, right? So he's out, and here's this girl screaming, right? And then all of a sudden, the screaming stops. And again, Joe can tell it better than I can. I'm just going to make this really, really quick. Girl was screaming. Joe goes looking for where he thought he heard the screaming come from, right? And he sees this girl cowering, right, by this vehicle. It's in a parking lot. Sees her cowering. She's all huddled up, right? And she sees him when he sees her, and she puts her finger up to her lips like, please don't tell, right? She had this anguish in her eyes, please don't say anything, right? And here's this big guy, right, yelling and screaming. And immediately what Joe says is, get under the truck, right? There's a pickup truck right there. Get under the vehicle, right? Not wait here while I put my superhero clothing on, or so I can turn around and draw my gun or whatever, right? Get under the vehicle. We'll come back to that in a minute, right? Turns around to face the guy, and he says, look, you need to back off, go away. And this, again, and this is part of our protecting others training, right? Where you get their attention away from their intended target who can't protect themselves onto us, because this is what we've been training for, right? Not to step up, not because we wanted to or whatever, but we put how much time, effort, money, training, practice, blood, sweat, tears, and all that into doing this. Let me do this, right? Now I'm going to try to de-escalate the situation, all that kind of wonderful stuff, right? And if it comes to it, I'm going to take the heat, right? I'm giving this person back their life. Go away, right? Go somewhere else, right? Anyway, this guy, of course, turns his rage on Joe and starts screaming something about, interfering with him and his girlfriend and all that. And here's this big old knife, right? And I'm going to kill you. And he starts coming at Joe, and Joe shifts into one of our postures, right? One of our protective positions, right? We don't use the word stance, but anyway, into one of these protective positions, and continues to try to de-escalate the situation. And as soon as he goes into this position, right, it's not your typical karate pose or whatever, right? It immediately made this guy kind of stall, right? And now he's got to try to figure out how he's going to execute on his promise to kill Joe, right? Kill this, right? That's getting in between him and his girlfriend and all that stuff, right? Anyway, long story short, Joe handles things. Cops arrive. This guy gets drug off, right? But before the cops left, once they got the story, they looked at him and said, man, we're glad you were on scene because you literally saved her life, right? So let's kind of break this down just a little bit, right? Because the mindset is different. It's not just, wait here, ma'am, I'll take care of this, and then go do your thing and execute on things just because you learned a bunch of monkey moves or a bunch of techniques, right? So again, we have this framework called the 8 phases of successful or strategic self-defense strategy, right? So the whole thing is about strategy. What's the outcome you're looking for, right? And we've got all these other videos you can look at for some of these other ones, right? I'm going to break this down very, very quickly into 4 phases. And I don't care if we're talking about street self-defense. I don't care if we're talking about workplace violence, right? And making sure that your plan and whatnot is correct, right? It has the different things in it, because we don't know where we're going to enter that paradigm, right? I mean, the guy could just be suddenly on us from behind, and next thing you know, right, we're in the thick of things and all that. But I'm going to break this down into 4 big chunks, right? Our 8-phase framework fits into this, all right? So the first one, right, is preparation. Preparation. I know you're going to have to put up with my sloppy handwriting. Hopefully you can see that. If you're looking on a phone, squint real hard. Anyway, right? So preparation, right? Preparation is everything from mindset, like I recognize that danger exists in the world and it can touch me or somebody I care about or I'm charged with protecting or whatever, right? And, so I'm not walking around the world like a lot of these people, like, never going to touch me. I live in a safe place. I don't hang out in bad places or bad areas, or I carry guns, so I just shoot them in the whatever people's thing is, right? But this also includes what kind of situations and scenarios am I most likely to handle, right? Or have to handle, be forced to handle, right? And this is not just like he might be trying to punch me or he might be trying to stab me. I'm talking about, it could be nighttime, low visibility. I could be on a slippery surface. I could be in a parking lot between parked cars. I could be, whatever, right? I could be in my home, half asleep and in my PJs, whatever, right? And of course, it includes the different types of attacks in our big program for students. The whole first module, out of 5 modules before we even enter black belt levels, that whole first module, make sure that students have a couple of proven responses to handle all of the most common types of attacks that we know are the most common attacks, because they are on police reports and they're in the statistics, right? These are the things. So we need to get these things handled quickly, which goes to my student Joe, right? Only being in training for a little under 4 days short of 2 months, right? And being able to not just protect himself, but be able to protect somebody else's life, because very, very quickly, first upfront kind of thing is to be able to handle those most common things, right? Not like that timeline that I drew out where hopefully somebody's able to protect themselves once they have a black piece of cloth around their waist, or once they have that certificate of completion or whatever, right? Like, my goal is people have workable things that they can do right after the first class, okay? So anyway, preparation, right? Next one is prevention. Okay, this is everything from escaping to safety to de-escalation tactics to just prior planning and all those kind of things, right? So preventing somebody from choosing you as a target, right? Also includes things like the way I carry myself. So body language cues and presence and all that, right? If I walk around like somebody with a big chip on his shoulder, I'm going to draw and attract people that have a big chip on their shoulder, and they're going to see me as a target, right? Also, if I walk around with certain body language cues that kind of look like, I just can't make eye contact, and I'm just kind of hoping that, peace reigns and love wins the day kind of thing. And that's what I'm going to hide, because I'm not offensive, so nobody should be there's a whole different type of predator that's going to come at that person, right? So preparation, prevention, right? Next one, we're just going to use a big word, right? Mitigation. Right? This includes everything from certain types of escape tactics to actually physically having to protect yourself or others, whatever, against, who knows, fists, knives, gunfire, kicks, whatever, right? Multiple attackers. Okay. So what I want to be doing is reducing the amount of wear and tear on me as possible. If I'm protecting somebody else, how do I do that, right? Again, I'm going to come back to Joe's story in a minute, but preparation, prevention, mitigation, and post-incident recovery. Hopefully this is all staying on the screen, right? Post-incident recovery. Again, I told you, you have to put up my sloppy handwriting, right? My mom always said that I should be a doctor based on my handwriting. I never did understand the quality of my handwriting correlating to how I could save somebody's lives. But anyway, I guess it does. I'm not a doctor, but anyway. So post-incident recovery is everything from handling my own body or brain's backfiring on itself, right? What do they call it? PTSD, right? All that kind of stuff. They used to call it shell shock, right? People got more treatment for shell shock than they did for PTSD. And now everybody has PTSD. Not sure about that either. But anyway, post-incident recovery, everything from that to protecting yourself against the systems that's supposed to be in place to protect us, right? The legal system, protecting us against superiors, right, in our own organization that are going to rather fire us than to, protect our back, all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, just really, really quick, right? Preparation, prevention, mitigation, and post-incident recovery. So very quickly, what I'm going to do is just kind of outline the story again from Joe's perspective here and how it's really looking at prevention and mitigation. And it actually goes beyond that, okay? So hopefully you had that. If not, you'll be able to go back on the recording and take a little screenshot and capture my crappy handwriting forever, right? Now somebody's calling the academy and they'll have to wait. So anyway, right? So let's kind of draw this thing out here, right? So we'll just draw a little pickup truck, right? Again, crappy drawing, right? I don't know what kind of pickup truck it was, but anyway, here we are, right? And so girl's huddled in this position, right? Just cowering, right? Nose is down. I'm sure her nose wasn't that long, but anyway, right? So she's in this kind of position and she's right here, right? Other cars, right? That kind of thing, right? In this kind of thing. And I think they were at like a Dunkin' Donuts for those of you in the States or in the world where you know what those things are, right? So buildings in the parking lot kind of thing, right? And so Mr. Bad Guy's coming, right? So here's a question, right? Can you, with what you've learned, pass some piece of that knowledge off to someone you're trying to protect, right? In less than 10 words, way less than 10 words, right? I would say less than 6 words, right? Can you do that in a way that they can execute on what you just told them to protect themselves that fits in with a self-defense psychology and understanding about the way attackers think, right? Like in an instant, right? We're talking 10 seconds or less, right? That you can do this thing, get them into a safe position so they can use what you just told them, right? Or are you going to have to do what your teacher did or your instructor or whatever, and now it's going to take this person weeks at best, right? Months, years, or whatever, to get to a position where you can hope to God or whatever that you can, right, protect yourself against this person that just wants to remove you from the world, right? So that's what Joe did, right? But to understand that, we have to understand what was going on, right? Okay. So this girl's cowering next to a car. Okay. So, if I'm looking down here at this stand that my camera's on, right, and look down here, right, she's right here and she's cowering. But nothing about that is going to protect her, right? Instinctively, untrained people ball up, don't look, and their entire system is wired to, if I can make myself as tiny as possible, bring the big protective muscles and things like that around my system, then I can either hide from the person or hope that, I can protect myself against the other caveman's club or whatever, right? But the reality is that this is easy access, right? So I'm looking at this little spot right here. If she were cowering, right where I got my little books and everything right here, right? If she were cowering there, it's easy for this person to come down. He has easy access. The human body works this way, right? But what did Joe say? In less than 2 seconds, right? Get under the truck. Okay, get under the truck. So now, let's make the truck not so fat, right? So now she's underneath the vehicle, right? Where she used to be right here, okay? So now she's underneath this vehicle, okay? A couple of things. Most people do not look up, and most people don't look down, okay? They scan, and there's a limit to how far up and down the average human being looks. That's why Ninja, right? Not Ninja Turtles, not the other bullshit that everybody likes to throw around. That's why Ninja used to hide typically really high or at ground level at odd angles, because human beings typically don't scan down or up, okay? So it's the best place to hide. The other thing he had her do was slide under a space that now makes it more difficult for the attacker to get at her and access her. He has to go into a position, right, that he's going to be trying to lay on his stomach underneath things, not bang his head on metal pieces and try to get at her. She's now surrounded almost entirely by armor, okay? Instantly, but see, that's just taking something that he learned. If the situation is overwhelmed and I can't pull the Chuck Norris on a movie kind of thing where I'm surrounded by 10 guys and they're all going to be nice enough to come at me 1 or 2 at a time until I take out all 10 instead of all bum rushing me at the same time, which is more the reality of things, right? So I learned, put myself into a position that makes it really difficult, 1, for them to even think about that being where I might be. 2, if they do come at me, now I'm bottlenecking everything and making it very, very difficult for them to get at me, easy for me to get away or for me to protect myself, right? So changes everything. And then Joe was able to take that and transfer it from me to them. Instead of wait here, And then if I die, then you're going to get, right? So anyway, right? Lots of things. Okay. So again, something simple to transfer in less than 2 months. And actually, Joe got that lesson within his first month. So anyway, right. That's it. We're going to keep this really, really short, really simple. What I wanted to kind of do was throw things out there, because this is one of those situations where no matter how many techniques Joe had, he wasn't the intended target, right? One of the systems that is in them that we have, that was their thing, right? Being a bodyguard, protecting somebody else. You were not the primary target. Now you can make yourself the primary target, right? But your goal is to protect that other person, not yourself. Okay. It's kind of like in my previous life before I started helping all you folks, right? Dragging you across the line and teaching you things that you may not want to know. But, you know, it's going to get you where you want to be as far as being able to protect yourself. You know, that's what I did, right? I protected Dalai Lama of Tibet and several other Tibetan teachers, prior Secretary of Defense, and all those kind of guys, right? Anyway, so what we're looking at is being able to translate things, right? Because sometimes moves are just not enough. Oh, and by the way, when I say that Joe settled the situation till the cops got there, he was able to confuse and distract his assailant. Now it's his assailant, right? Right? The guy really wants to get at her. Joe's a distraction, right? Was able to do that till the cops rolled up. Joe has no nicks on him, no cuts or whatever, because the guy wouldn't get close enough based on what Joe was showing. And I don't mean like movie, like, you know, tough guy kind of thing. But he was able to use those things to get this guy to stall enough. And it was Joe's actions and Joe's actions alone, because no one else in the residential area where this had taken place picked up a phone to call the cops. No one came out to this girl's rescue, and they all heard it. Okay. So as warriors, and the one thing I know about my people, right, regardless of whether they're C-suite executives or corporate security managers or everyday folks that are coming to me for training, right? One thing I know is that the greater part of us have what I usually call a warrior mentality or warrior personality, but some folks actually admit to having a superhero complex, right? They're learning because they want to be able to be the guy or be the girl to be able to protect people who cannot protect themselves in the moment, or put things in place that allow for people to be safe and protected when bad stuff happens. Okay. So anyway, again, quick lesson, took less than 20 minutes, I think, 22, give or take, right? So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, and you want more, I take phone calls from folks every once in a while when they want to jump on and maybe do some private stuff with me, regardless of whether they're local or they're long distance. If you want to do that, you can always shoot me an email at jmmiller@warrior-concepts-online.com. I'll try to put a link under the YouTube video once all this stuff gets finalized. But jmmiller@warrior-concepts-online.com. In the subject field, just put call request, right? Send out a little confirmation thing to get a little bit more information about you and all that. And if everything works out at that point, we'll hop on the phone, we'll discuss some things, and we'll see if we're a good fit and how I might be able to help. Otherwise, between now and then, I'll talk to you again next time. Don't forget, this Wednesday coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, we've got our Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday, where we go into some tactics, actual self-defense tactics and whatnot on a certain type of attack situation or certain skill set. And also tonight, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we've got our Kuden podcast kind of thing, Kuden. If you're on Facebook, you can go to Kuden Podcast, or you can go to Online Ninjutsu Training. That's it. They're both pages, right? If you're on YouTube, you're either already there, or you can go to YouTube, Kage36, Kage 36. Like and subscribe. You'll get more information when things come out from me. Otherwise, until then, be safe, be strong. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.